Welcome to How Women Inspire. Today, I am joined by Sherry Finkel Murphy. She is a certified financial planner and the founder of Madrina Molly Financial Wisdom for Women of a Certain Agency. After selling her successful wealth management practice in January of 2024, hey, how many of you need, I hope more of us start selling successful companies. Sherry launched a fresh approach to money, which feels like we're stepping into our power. This is a just enough financial planning membership designed specifically for women seeking deeper financial and longevity education. I am so happy to say she is a partner with me as a limited partner at How Women Invest. Together, Sherry and over 500 other women, we are fueling the next generation of female-led ventures. Sherry's here. You're going to get such a powerful perspective about money, aging, and our own power. So let's dive in, Sherry. Sound good?
Thank
So
you so
excited
much
to have
for
you here.
having me. Let me start by saying that there's new and there's new to women when it comes to new ways of looking at money. And I think we should all give ourselves grace because women's individual wealth journey is really only 50 years old. Before that, money was your husband's money or your
Oh,
dead
yeah.
husband's money.
Well, I remember my mother got an inheritance from her dad, and she was so furious. She's like, "This is my money, and I have to get your dad's permission to use my own money." It was one of those defining moments for me when I was a little girl. I was like, "You know what? That will never be me." So many things in my life were like, financially, that will never be me. Okay, before we dive into it, because I know we have so much alignment and also so much we can learn from you because you are so wise. You've been in this journey with so many people. I know we've got a lot to learn. If you're going to do a dinner party with women, that could be historical figures, it could be people alive today. Who are the three people you would invite? And what questions would you ask them?
Can you hear the smile on my
I
face?
love it.
Typical feminist nerdy fashion. I'm kind of all over the place here. Number one, in a heartbeat, would be Madeleine Albright, first female Secretary of State, brilliant woman who perhaps never intended to change the course of history, but did several times. So she's a hero of mine, and how wonderful to have her in recent history. Her life is also really interesting. Having been to Prague, I had a rainy afternoon free, and I went to the Museum of Communism, which cracked me up because it was an historical perspective of the 50 years Czechoslovakia spent as part of the Soviet bloc, starring people from my youth, Martina Navratilova, and we Boom Xers lived through that. And of course, she was born into free Czechoslovakia, lived under communist rule, came to the US, and she was able to see the Velvet Revolution and once again a democratic republic in Czechoslovakia. I would ask her to tell me about that. And of course, she's got lots of things to say about politics in the 21st century and was able to publish a couple of books before she died. But I would want to hear about Czechoslovakia over the course of her 80 years.
You know, it was amazing. I met her probably 10 years ago. We got to have dinner together. I got to spend a decent amount of time with her. And oh my gosh, unbelievably brilliant and strong, but warm. Like there's some women of her ilk that were also extremely impressive, but maybe didn't have the same humanity that she always kept with her. She was so down to earth and brilliant.
Special woman. I would recommend her autobiography, well, multiple autobiographies, but I would recommend Madam Secretary to anyone
Wonderful. Yeah.
who does not recall her, and just super cool.
Well, a one-on-one dinner with her would be enough, but do you have 2 other people you've been thinking about?
I
That would be good
do.
fun?
I get a kick, and I was doing a little bit of extra research for my International Women's Day keynote speech, which I did this year for a women's group, a group of women's groups together. Anyhow, Carrie Chapman Catt is the founder of the League of Women Voters. She was instrumental in the passage of women's suffrage in 1919. We have a tendency towards myth making, but the reality is that a wealthy publisher died, leaving his wife. I think his name was Frank Leslie, Mrs. Frank Leslie, otherwise Miriam Leslie. He has a failing publishing business. She takes it over as his widow. She becomes very wealthy, and she leaves her estate in 1914, not to the women's suffrage movement, but to Carrie Chapman Catt personally. And Carrie Chapman Catt does what any self-respecting suffragist would do to turn the tide, because there are several states that are passing suffrage, but at the federal level, they can't quite get it over the top. She takes that money and buys a couple of congressmen because that's the way it's done.
Yes, unfortunately, but how amazing. I've never heard of her before.
So the
Sherry, are
person
you a historian or you just have gone into some of these people's.
I just love reading history, and
Yeah,
I love getting behind the myths we create. I
right.
think that our popular myths have done us a disservice in
100%,
some
yeah.
ways. So, yeah, I just like
Well, and
reading a lot of
artistically,
history.
okay, who's your third person?
My third is not someone we're likely to come in contact with. Last month, maybe just a few weeks ago, I read an article in National Geographic. Nat Geo is my go to for staying away from the news and politics. I
Yes.
recommend it highly. There was an article about Burka Warrior, a Viking burial cairn that was discovered 150 years ago. The archaeologists just assumed that this warrior, an archer, they think, was a man. And they had reason. A woman archaeologist goes poking around and says, "There's something wrong here. Can I do DNA testing?" They do DNA testing and discover that Burka Warrior is, in fact, not a man. And
Like
so
Conclave that we just watched at the end, huh?
so I want to ask Burka Warrior what role she had in Viking society. Apparently, there may have been, very much like the Amazons on Amazon Island in Wonder Woman, there may have been troops of horsewomen who were trained as warriors. And I want to know more about that.
Oh my god, you're amazing. This is so
Well,
fun.
we need to write people back
Yes,
into
me
history.
too. I can't believe as a lifelong feminist and someone who reads a lot that I didn't know about these last 2.
I recommend Nat Geo. That's a big
All right.
recommend too.
I think I do, but I'm gonna double down. So that was fantastic. We have so much to learn from you, and, we just learned a lot. I thought we were just gonna be entertained. How did this even begin? What's your defining moment that really got you to start Madrina Molly?
So life comes at you fast, right? And I teach women to have a forget you fund, among other buckets. And so this would have been early 2023. My stepdaughter announces she is pregnant in Ohio, and I'm residing in New York with my husband. She announces she's pregnant with number two. She is working from home, raising number one, and her husband travels, and they are busy. And anybody knows it takes a village. I turned to my husband. I said, "Oh my gosh, we need to help." And he said, "What does that look like?" I said, We need to spend part time in Ohio being the extra set of wheels." The joke, fast forward, is that we started with a mandate that you can't be closer than 30 minutes away. And now we're across the street in a cul-de-sac temporarily, and she runs across, "I'm out of dishwasher tabs, you got one?" And then runs away again. I'm a member of the cohort that I serve, in the sense that I have a 97-year-old mother in Saratoga Springs, New York, and my youngest grandchild is now a year and a half old in Mason, Ohio. I am a woman with her mother's spare walker in the boot and her grandchild's spare child seat in the back of the same SUV, and that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
So, long story long, the SEC and FINRA said, "Okay, financial advisors, you've had your COVID break, back in the office 51% of the time." And I went, "Ah."
That's gonna work for me at this moment,
I've
and
gotten a little too
caring for
flexible.
people. Yeah. Yeah,
We
yeah.
toyed with the idea of opening an Ohio office. I didn't want to be lonely, to be perfectly honest. It seemed like a good time to transition. And so I spent the rest of the year lovingly transitioning my clients to my handpicked successor, another woman, a very talented woman. Her name is Christine Lemuti, just for the record. I found her via my alumni women's group. So Like, how cool is that?
Wonderful.
And she became my handpicked successor, is taking very good care of my former clients. And off I went to be virtual. I think the other thing that I want to say about Madrina Molly is that this is an opportunity to be disruptive. We are short about 100,000 certified financial planners if we were really going to do planning for the population. I want to, by underpricing something as a membership, bring the information out. I'm not selling a product. I'll refer out. It's not supposed to sound like a pitch. I'm just telling you
You're on a
why I
mission.
did
Yeah,
this.
you're on a mission.
It's exciting and rewarding. What is the word you use? You use the word middle essence, and I use the word generativity,
There we go. There we
which is it's all about mentoring.
Yeah. Well, and the ripple effect that you can have as someone with your background is huge. And I'll tell you what's so fascinating to me. You know, you're part of our community, but I work with very senior women who've had extremely successful careers. And they'll say to me a combination of things like, you know, I know how to make money, but I've never spent the time to invest. Or interestingly enough, Sherry, I make the money. I wanna make sure my husband feels like he's important, so he's in charge of investing. He doesn't do such a great job. I'm trying to figure out how to make sure our investing is both successful, but also values aligned with what I think is important, and how do I navigate those conversations? All kinds of interesting stuff happens. This is the first generation of us with this kind of operational success and wealth. It's about all these things no one ever taught us, and
Right.
thank God for you helping us think through what are the how do you think through this these things, even if you got your FU money or you
So you
yeah,
just described my clients and you just described the membership. A lot of the Madrina Molly people are, look, I just want to be smart enough to ask the right questions when
right,
we meet with our
right,
investment advisor.
right, right.
Um,
Fidelity just came out with a report that said 60% of women would be more proactive investors if they knew the first 2 steps. So back to your point of the dearth of financial advisors that are really ready and able to support this generation of us. The other thing is I'm finding people who are hungry for values-aligned investing information and how to get going. So on that note, I know we talk about middle essence women want to have an impact and do it with other women. People look up and they're like, "Wait, I've made the money now. I need to figure out how to make sure I'm investing that money aligned with my values." What is your approach to balancing risk and opportunity? And how can women be thinking about how to diversify their portfolio appropriately?
Thank you for feeding me such a wonderful lead in. So I think that we can all use a good food metaphor. You are a pie.
Okay.
You are a pie.
Very positive.
And in order for you to assume risk, you need safety. As your slices get bigger towards the risk side, you offset it with safety. And that's why we say if you're going to work for a high tech startup, you need to increase the size of your emergency fund. If you go to work for the state of New York, 3 months is fine. You're not getting fired tomorrow. Nobody at the state of New York is going out of business. But if you are working in a risky business, then you want to offset it on the other side. So if we think about ourselves as asset allocation, it becomes obvious that, oh, I'm adding 10% more risk here. Let me take risk away from the other side. So I want to say that practically. I am going to invest 10% of my money in venture because I want to make an impact. If I have 10% to invest in venture, then on the flip side, I want to perhaps increase my cash holdings or take 5% of my income and make sure I have whole life insurance with a long term care rider and disability income insurance. And I know those are manifestly unsexy. Knowing that you have those is what enables you to take risk. Just like a portfolio has stocks and bonds, which are intended to offset one another, or a reporter just asked me questions about gold because
I'm
that's what
sure.
they ask when the
The
market goes
question du
down.
jour to this week, yes, uh-huh.
But that commodities offset the volatility of stock. The trick is doing productive things with it, like rebalancing when you have an opportunity. But that's a conversation for another day. My message is you are pi, I am pi. The thing that enables you to take the next risk, whether in your life or your portfolio, is offsetting the risk. Oh, I guess I know a good example. A home equity line of credit would be an example of a risk mitigation tool that you don't use, but you take it out. It's good for 10 years and you put it in the desk drawer and leave it there. So that would be a good example of a risk mitigation tool.
I'm not asking for permission anymore. I'm not asking for a seat at the table. My friends, this is the first generation of us. We have a huge opportunity. We have power and influence and wealth. And we can start building the tables where we get the prime seats. Today, we want to invite you to join us as investors in venture. I know no one's asked you to do it before. It might be something that seems scary or foreign, but I promise you it's not that different than investing in a mutual fund where your retirement funds are. I want you to lean in and just learn a little bit more. How about making a commitment that in the next 12 months, you can give yourself 12 months to figure it out and to take a step. I want to invite you to be part of the new table of power and influence and wealth. You're invited. I want to sit at the table with you because we're going to make big change. We're going to make the world we've been dreaming of. You know what? We all are doing versions of this on a daily basis. I've never heard someone talk about it the way you just did. And I think what's so powerful about this is by explaining the way you did, it's like, oh, yeah, I do a version of that. Now let me build my confidence about the fact that I'm already doing some of this. Let me just put it on paper. Let me make sure the pie, adjust it next time I have a new thing happen where there's increased risk or stability in any area. So starting with where people are at, my guess is most of us are already doing a lot of this innately, but not knowing we're doing it and not having a proactive way of thinking about it. So you're still swirling in your head about, am I
Yeah.
stay in fear when in fact,
So you're making me so happy because my conversations with women always start with a box of tissues and you're going to tell me I'm doing everything wrong and I don't know what I'm doing and I never got any education.
Yeah.
Only 16% of our population has any education in finance.
Yeah.
Not your fault. We make ourselves wrong and I have to say stop it. We already have mothers if we want to be
Right.
made wrong. I know who to
Right.
call if I
There
want
we go.
criticism.
How do you measure success as an investor? Is it all just about financial returns, or what are the other factors you think are most important?
Oh, wow. So I joke, and of course, most good humor has an element of truth in it. If you ask a man what he needs to retire or what he needs to achieve financial freedom, he'll give you a number with a lot of zeros. And if you ask a woman, she will tell you, I need enough to live my lifestyle for the rest of my life, and I need enough to marry my children off, and I need enough.
To donate.
My job as a financial planner and now as an educator is to help you think about achieving your goal, but taking only as much risk as is necessary to achieve the goal and not an ounce more risk.
Yeah.
I think that success is about getting a model. Madrina Molly works with a free and a paid version of a commercial model, whether it's instead of a financial advisor or supplementing a financial advisor. I think that we sleep well at night when we know our number. And what is our number? Our
Right.
number is how much does it really cost you, Julie, to live happily month to month? Know that number. And based on your savings and where your savings is, we're able to calculate, do you have enough and are you putting away enough to live to 100?
Yeah.
That's academic
Yes.
and you don't even have to do the math.
I'm a clinical social worker slash executive coach. I'm always thinking about the personal side of human behavior and behavioral economics. To me, getting out of the fear and the swirl, like you said, I can sleep if I got that number. So all these women I know, a bunch of them are still juggling super busy careers and some are starting to go on the other side. How do people think about this? Most of the people I'm involved with are sort of mid 40s and up. They're still working, but they're really starting to think about, okay, I got to make sure one, it's values aligned, and two, it's really building my wealth. How do people do that when their lives are so busy?
Any financial person worth their salt will tell you to automate it.
Yeah.
And that is to automate saving to dollar cost average into the market, to not look at it. Because
Yeah.
over time, you will have purchased the dips. You will have purchased on sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, first thing is the expression dollar cost average means sometimes you buy low, sometimes you buy higher, but over time, you have gotten a bargain. And that's the reason not to wait for a lump sum or a windfall, just a little bit,
A little bit.
every interval, whatever that interval is, monthly, weekly. I think the other thing is we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, especially if we are smart, accomplished professionals, especially people with credentials. I can't tell you how many attorneys have said, I should know this stuff. I should be able to figure this out.
I feel that way.
My thought is, can you please work from your strengths and outsource your weaknesses? Nobody needs stronger weaknesses.
Not at my age anyway. I feel like community plays such a big role in investing success, and women, especially at our age, really wanting to have an impact with other women. Has that played a role in your journey? I mean, you're part of our network at How Women Lead and How Women Invest.
I feel like I've come home and I realize that I'm an elder stateswoman at this point, in that I'm not beginning the journey. I'm mentoring other people's journeys if I have my way about it. I think there are so many affinity groups now, whether it's alumni networks or women's investing groups like this one, for goodness sakes. I'm always learning from people. And I love the fact that you use the expertise of the network to inform the investments.
Yeah.
Executives have crazy skills from their past lives and current lives, and everyone should be leveraged.
Yeah.
I feel like the corporate environments I grew up in for the last 40 years were very not invented here.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's because men needed to take credit, and
Yeah.
women don't require credit, they require a successful outcome. Women deserve and should ask for credit, but I think we approach collaboration differently.
You know what? I would rather be in relationship with you and community with you than necessarily get any credit. I mean, it's nice. It's always nice. I get a lot of people saying, "Thank you. You made an impact on my life." And that's wonderful. But the truth is, my biggest joy comes from my friendship with you, my relationship with someone where I get to learn from you and be part of your journey.
It is
You
really
know?
satisfying to find these groups. And in that sense, remember that I started in a pre internet world. I actually spoke at the very first PC Expo. I was a
Right.
technologist in my first life. It is amazing what has come to pass
Yeah.
and how quickly
Yeah.
it has come to pass.
Well, and this weird pendulum swing we're in is just kind of breathtaking. I talk to a lot of people, they have assumptions about investing in venture, and venture is a part of a private markets asset class. Obviously, there's a lot of different things you can do in this space. People, one, they think that it's a huge dollar amount, that because that's what they've heard. Those are the people that they see who invest in venture. So for anyone listening, our minimum investment amount's $25,000. There's a lot of I don't know if there's a lot of other women-run funds out there, but there's a couple, and I even know some that will take 10,000 as a minimum investment amount. It's spread over 4 years, but the other thing that's interesting is you can use a couple different vehicles. It's not just cash. Can you talk about how people should be thinking about a self-directed IRA or even a self-directed Roth IRA?
I can and I want to. So thank
Oh,
you for
good.
asking. This is part of the Madrina Molly shtick. I think that from a financial mistake standpoint, there are very few mistakes you can make, but one of them is needing money before you can access it. And that means that you placed your money in the wrong place. I see it all the time. People who put money in the market that they intend to use within the next 2 years, and then the market is down when they need it. One of the things that I'm actively writing about in my manuscript is that all money, our wealth, is not one lump sum. It is divided into buckets by purpose, by time horizon. Time horizon is when you need the money back, by its liquidity. Can you access it or not? And then secondarily, by its tax treatment and by your own personal sense of risk. Are you willing to let it fluctuate? If you know these things, if you know the purpose of your money and its time horizon and liquidity, you receive a strong message as to what the right tool is. And I maintain that when it comes to venture, the right tool is a Roth IRA, specifically a self directed Roth IRA, because venture needs to go in a self directed tool. And the reason is that the Roth IRA is the last bucket you will go to. It is the bucket you want to grow tax free forever because you've already paid the taxes on it. So you want it to grow big and you want it to grow long, which means that the 10-year time horizon, which is the usual lockup period for a fund, anywhere from 7 to 10 years, that is a no-brainer for a Roth
Yes.
IRA because you didn't
Yeah.
intend to get the money out. It is tax-free, and since venture is big risk, big reward, if it grows large, yay us, and no taxes. And of course, there's a famous use case, think what you will about Peter Thiel, but he made $5 billion in a Roth IRA on his PayPal stock.
That's amazing. Alright,
And
well, I was like, if you do nothing else from this interview, this podcast, do that.
that's right. Venture belongs in a self-directed Roth IRA, and
This
I
is
help
new
people
information
set
for
them
me.
up.
I
So
have self-directed IRAs, but I didn't even think about the Roth IRA, and I'm gonna do that immediately.
yes, 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 yes. But that's those clues, the when will I want this money? Not just, oh, I want to save it, but what am I saving it for? Is it for the vacation home? Is it for the child's wedding? Is it for the early stages of retirement? Is it for the later stages of retirement? That's a big indicator of what tool you should use. So
Yeah.
thank you for asking. I'm glad I was able to say that.
Oh, me too. We're actually probably a little over time, but can I do a lightning round of questions real quick?
Of
Because that's
course.
fun. I really wanna do another one of these with you. This has been so extraordinary. If you could leave people who are listening with one piece of advice or inspiration, what would that be?
Oh, make bigger asks. Asks for big effing things.
Great.
We need bigger asks.
Is there a song that gets you pumped up?
Yes. Megan Trainor, Me Too. That
Okay.
is my walk-on song. That is the morning song.
What's your one book that you would recommend for aspiring female leaders?
So I have two. The Confidence Code is one, and that goes without saying because that's about plasticity. If I think it, I can be it. And so that's just basic. But the one that struck me, and I was reluctant to talk about it, is Arlen Hamilton's It's About Damn Time. Her lifestyle and my lifestyle diverged dramatically, but the fact that she was so underestimated is what
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
about her
She's
story.
so fierce. Do you have a personal motto or quote you live by?
We rescue ourselves.
God, you're amazing.
If you wait for Prince Charming, you're gonna be waiting a long time.
I can make the money. I'm gonna pick the person who makes me the
Right, but a
yeah,
man
yeah.
is not financial rescue. So,
No,
yes, we rescue
no.
ourselves.
Yeah, amen. Certainly what I've done in my life. How can people find you? And tell me more about this manuscript that's coming online.
So, MadrinaMolly.com is the website. The Substack blog and subscription is hanging off of that. I have Zoom meetings every other week on Thursday night and office hours for the model. The manuscript is The Year of Not Saving and Other Financial Ideas. I am writing women of a certain agency into the financial planning domain because like healthcare, it was built on the stories and data of white men in the 20th century, and we need our own stories now that we've got 50 years of data.
Well, and what a market transformation. As we were kind of alluding to earlier, I'm the primary breadwinner in my family. I thought I was the only one. I mean, not quite the only one because I've got some friends, right? But I was like, I'm a big outlier. The Wall Street Journal just reported a couple months ago that 45% of all households that are heterosexual are headed by a female primary breadwinner. Our culture is transforming so much, you cannot possibly use a playbook from 100 years ago.
I think that's telling about why people want to undermine our confidence in flexing because we don't need to be empowered. We're already powerful. We just
Thank
need
you.
to flex.
Amen. Thank you so much. You are magnificent.
You are
Top of
magnificent.
Thank you so much for sharing with everybody on this podcast. I know everybody listening is feeling elevated and smarter and clear about like, okay, I'm going to do the couple things. I'm going to figure out my pie and get it out of your head and get it out of this world. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you
So
for having me, Julie.